Hare Krishna. Today we will read chapter 8 of Prabhupada Leela Amrit, New Delhi, Crying Alone in the Wilderness. I have got the clue of going back to Godhead just after leaving my present material body, and in order to take along with me all my contemporary men and women of the world. I have started my paper, Back to Godhead, as one of the means to the way. Please don't think of me as something wonderful or a madman when I say that I shall go back to Godhead after leaving my present material body. It is quite possible for everyone and all of us. From a letter to India's President, Mr. Rajendra Prasad. When Abhay arrived in Mathura, he sought out Keshav Maharaj, who was now establishing his matha, and presented him with the deity of Lord Chaitanya. At Keshav Maharaj's request, Abhay agreed to stay there and edit the Gaudiya Patrika. Abhay was given a room, and for the first time, aside from brief visits, he lived in a matha with his godbrothers. As a senior, experienced devotee, Abhay held classes and instructed the brahmacharis who were young, uneducated, and even illiterate in the disciplines of devotional service and the philosophies of Bhagavad Gita. He had only recently begun his duties when Bhakti Sarang Goswami, another sannyasi godbrother, asked Bhaktivedanta Prabhu to assist him in New Delhi at his ashram, Gaudiya Sangha. Both Keshav Maharaj and Bhakti Sarang Goswami recognized Abhay as an accomplished writer and editor and wanted to work with him. It was accepted among Srila Bhakti Siddhant's disciples that A.C. Bhaktivedanta Prabhu was an expert preacher and writer, whether in English, Hindi, or Bengali. Now Keshav Maharaj wanted Abhay to stay and work on the Gaudiya Patrika, while Bhakti Sarang Maharaj, who had to go to Bengal, was requesting him to come to Delhi to produce the harmonist known in Hindi as Sajjan Toshani. Abhay was agreeable to Bhakti Sarang Goswami's proposition, and Keshav Maharaj consented on the condition that Abhay also continue to edit the Gaudiya Patrika at least by mail. As an editor, Abhay was in his element and he was happy to preach in cooperation with his godbrothers. Although Abhay did not consider himself an accomplished scholar or author, Srila Bhakti Siddhant Saraswati had been pleased by his writings and had encouraged him to continue, and now these senior sannyasis of Bhakti Siddhant Saraswati were turning to him for help. They were practically competing to see who would get the benefit of his services. Perhaps, Abhay thought, this should be his life's work, serving humbly under the direction of his godbrothers. His ejection from Jhansi had been a kind of setback, at least it had left him temporarily unsure of how Krishna wanted to use him. But now his godbrothers seemed to be answering the question. Living and working in an ashrama with brahmacharis and sannyasis was a way of life Abhay had once considered too austere, and Bhakti Siddhant Saraswati had remarked, better he live outside your company, but now he would either have to struggle alone with nothing or stay within the shelter of a friendly portion of the Gaudiya Math. Perhaps he could carry out his desires to preach Krishna consciousness within the ashramas of his godbrothers. Since he would soon be the editor of Sajjan Toshani, he began thinking of how to expand it. It was a scholarly Vaishnav journal, but cheaply produced and with a very limited circulation. He envisioned it surpassing India's slick illustrated weekly. It should be more popular than Time or Life magazines of America. And why not? Krishna was no poor man. Abhay thought of how he could start an ambitious subscription program by approaching the many prominent and wealthy men of New Delhi. Then, by Krishna's grace, he would soon be able to print color photos and use high quality paper for Sajjan Toshani. He would give it his best effort depending on Krishna. And while soliciting subscribers, he could take his book manuscripts and try to get them published. Dr. Alagappa in South India had wanted to publish his Gita Upanishad. No doubt there were many men like him. Or perhaps Bhakti Sarang Goswami would be willing to publish Abhay's work with funds from the Gaudiya Sangha. Abhay soon received a letter from Bhakti Sarang Goswami's assistant, carefully instructing him how to travel to Delhi at the least expense. He was to travel by train, third class to Delhi, and from there take a Tonga. Since Tangas at the station charged too much, Abhay should first walk about 100 meters towards the right hand side of the station where he would find a cheaper one. Were he to ride alone, he should pay no more than 1 rupee and 12 annas, but he should try to share the tanga with another passenger. That would be cheaper. Keeping the crematorium to your left hand side, the assistant instructed him. If you look towards the right, then you will be able to see a red flag and the signboard written in Hindi and English. When you reach here, we will pay for the tanga. At the Gaudiya Sangha, Abhay found a disconcerting state of affairs. In the absence of their Guru Bhakti Sarang Goswami, the brahmacharis were quarreling and shirking their duties, and as a result, the preaching and donation gathering were being neglected. Cleanliness, deity worship, cooking, and even peace among the devotees were below standard. And like most of the mathas of the God brothers, the Gaudiya Sangha was poor. Abhay had come thinking he would be editing a magazine, but he found himself contending with a group of quarreling neophyte devotees. He learned that the brahmachari responsible for giving public lectures had not done any preaching. The devotees who had previously been holding kirtanas in people's homes were now negligent, and the errand boy refused to run because he had lost his bicycle. Then a brahmachari handed Abhay a letter from Bhakti Sarang Goswami requesting him to take up the general management of the matha. Inspire everyone to be engaged in service. Otherwise, I do not know how we are going to print the English monthly magazine. Since we don't have much money in the fund, and since the brahmacharis are quite careless, Akinchan Maharaj wrote that he is unable to take the responsibility of the management. It will be very nice if you could keep your eyes on these affairs. Letter ends. And Abhay found other obstacles in trying to produce Sajjan Toshani, no typewriter, and bad relations with the printer. In a few days, Abhay received another letter from Bhakti Sarang Goswami telling him what articles to print, cautioning him not to change essential elements in the magazine, and reminding him of his special duty. From the letter, I have asked Akinchan Maharaj to hand over the keys of my room to you so that you may use my room only for your office work. As you are there, you should try to maintain peace in the ashram for giving necessary instructions to one and all. Letter ends. Abhay saw that he could do no editorial work until the laxity and petty quarreling in the ashram stopped. But when he tried to help as Bhakti Sarang Goswami had directed, some of the devotees rebelled and even wrote to their spiritual master complaining. It was against many obstacles that Abhay met the publisher's deadline for the August 1955 issue of Sajan Toshani. Yet, owing to the printer's delay, the magazine did not come out until September. When at last the first copies were delivered, Abhay sent several to Bhakti Sarang Goswami in Calcutta asking for his response. Abhay never heard from his godbrothers directly, but received further instructions from Bhakti Sarang Goswami's secretary Ramananda, who pointed out various mistakes in the issue, without mentioning whether Bhakti Sarang had been pleased with it. The errors were mostly technical matters of style. Abhay had done the contents page in a different way and had not printed Bhakti Sarang Goswami's name exactly as he had wanted it on all his articles. Regarding Abhay's request for a typewriter, Ramananda wrote that if the matters are distinctly written, there is no necessity of them being given to the printer in typewriting. Abhay wrote to Bhakti Sarang Goswami requesting him to return to Delhi and establish a peaceful atmosphere in the matha. Regarding Sajan Toshani, Bhakti Sarang Goswami had suggested that the paper for the cover be improved and that the whole magazine be done on nicer paper by an up-to-date press, and Abhay agreed, but improvements depended on money. Letter continues. The suggestion that the paper may be printed from Calcutta is all right, but my suggestion is that either in Calcutta or in Delhi, we must have our own press with good equipments so that we may be able to broadcast the message of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in all the important languages, especially in Hindi and in English. Hindi is meant for all India propaganda, while English is meant for worldwide propaganda. Letter ends. Abhay further reported that since it was almost impossible to expect a printer to work speedily from handwritten manuscripts, he had already rented a typewriter. He also mentioned his ideas for increasing the number of subscribers. Abhay's son Brindaban came to live with him for a few months at the Gaudiya Sangha. There was no question of Abhay's returning to his family, and Brindaban simply associated with his father, following the routines of the Matha and helping Abhay in his duties. One day, a prominent advocate, the president of the Hindu Mahasabha, paid an unexpected visit to the Gaudiya Sangha. The Matha was mostly deserted and there was no prasadam on hand. So Abhay and Brindaban received the prominent guest, cooking for him, offering him prasadam, and acquainting him with the activities of the Sangha. When Abhay wasn't busy managing the disorganized Matha and working on Gaudiya Patrika and Sajan Toshani, he spent his time preparing a Hindi translation of Chaitanya Charita Amrit. Although he was more accustomed to writing in English and Bengali, he reasoned that as long as he was preaching in Hindi speaking areas, such a book would be important. Bhakti Sarang Goswami wrote that he wanted to print only 500 copies of Sajan Toshani for the September issue, but Abhay wanted to print more. After making an agreement with the printer that the charges would be the same for 1000 copies as for 500, he wrote Bhakti Sarang Goswami informing him of the good news. Abhay also told him that he had recently secured a donation of printing paper and that he had arranged for a 1/4 reduction in the postal charges. Letter continues. So why, for the matter of saving some papers, we shall not print the full number? In my opinion, we should print more than 1000 copies every month and distribute them in large scale. Letter ends. But Bhakti Sarang replied through a brief postcard that they should print no more than 500. Abhay continued his attempts to improve Sajan Toshani. For him, it was not a perfunctory duty but absorbing preaching. In a letter to Bhakti Sarang Goswami, he expressed anxiety over waiting for him to send articles for the next issue. Funds were scarce, so scarce that Abhay had no decent dhoti, and yet he continued to envision a glorious future for Sajan Toshani. Letter from the letter. I wish to see this paper just to the standard of Illustrated Weekly with numerous pictures in order to make it a very popular literature, and for this I wish to move myself to secure subscribers as well as advertisers. I wish to visit good businessmen, insurance companies, and government officers in this connection, but I have no proper dress at all. I want 2 sets of good dresses in order to take up this responsibility, and I shall be glad to have your decision on this matter. It is my heart's desire that this paper is improved to the highest elevation. Letter ends. Abhay also requested that Bhakti Sarang Goswami help him publish his Hindi Chaitanya Charitamrit. Some non-Bengali gentlemen were demanding the book and had assured Abhay that they would pay 25 rupees per volume. Abhay requested a loan of 600 rupees under any arrangement suitable to Bhakti Sarang Goswami for publishing the first part of this work. If this part is sold out, Abhay wrote, the other parts will automatically come out. But just as life in the Gaudiya Sangha and work on the Sajan Toshani under Bhakti Sarang Goswami's hand produced strain for Abhay, Abhay's ambitions for increased circulation and his strong editorial opinions also created strain for Bhakti Sarang Goswami. In response to Abhay's letter, Bhakti Sarang Goswami's secretary Ramananda wrote a letter full of flowery praises of Bhakti Vedanta Prabhu, but with the intent of dismissing him from his position with the Gaudiya Sangha. From the letter. With innumerable humble obeisances at the lotus feet of a Vaishnav, Shri Mat Bhakti Vedanta Prabhu. We received your letter written to Shri Guru Maharaj on the 5th October 55. Your project is very lofty and you are a well-wisher of our society. We got to know that also. Since the last 2 months, in spite of so many difficulties, the difficulties of prasadam and misunderstanding of the devotees there, and in spite of various other difficulties, the kind of enthusiasm that you have shown, that is possible only for an elevated Vaishnav like yourself. You are a favorite Vaishnav of Srila Prabhupada and a friend of all the special associations of Srila Prabhupada. Most of the devotees in Gaudiya Sangha ashram in Delhi are new and less respectful. They cannot give proper respect to an elevated personality like yourself, especially the lofi speculations that you have. Our society at the present circumstances has a little ideas. We hope with all your qualities very soon you will become settled independently and fulfilling the desires of Srila Prabhupada start preaching very widely. We are suspecting that it won't be possible for an able and respectable Vaishnav like yourself to stay there long adjusting with the illiterate and less educated devotees of the Gaudiya Sangha in Delhi. Moreover, you are the head of the editorial board of Shrimad Keshav Maharaj Vedanta Samiti's Gaudiya Patrika and Bhagavad Patrika. So, if you spend much time in our ashram, then he might become annoyed. With many devotees, he is setting out to circumambulate the land of Braj, and we are sure that he will need your assistance in this parikrama. So you consider all the pros and cons, and if you do not neglect the duty as a leader of his organization, we will be pleased. Some articles have been sent for the October issue, Sajan Tushani, and some more might be sent. We will be very much obliged if you would instruct Keshanand Prabhu to publish the October issue. We hope that Shri Shri Guru Maharaj will be able to personally publish the November and December issues. We wish to transfer it to Calcutta from the month of January. Shri Shri Guru Maharaj has become old and most of the time he has to depend on us. We are happy to know that you are trying very hard to publish the Chaitanya Charitamrita in Hindi, but at the present circumstances, it won't be possible for us to invest 600 rupees from our fund in order to print that. Because Shri Shri Guru Maharaj has taken up many projects in different directions now, and he has to spend a lot of money, so he can't take the responsibility of printing that book. Keshwanand Prabhu wrote that your clothes are getting torn, so buy a pair of clothes from the fund of the temple, and if the devotees commit offenses at your lotus feet due to their short sightedness, please forgive them. Signed, the servant of the Vaishnava, Sri Ramanandas. Letter ends. It was not a fact that Abhay was being called for leadership in Kesha Maharaj Parikrama, although it was a good excuse for Ramanandas suggesting that Abhay leave the Gaudiya Sangha. So, after living as a dutiful member in the ashramas of Kesha Maharaj and Bhakti Sarang Maharaj, Abhay was again on his own. Without income or institutional shelter, Abhay began staying in various homes in Delhi, living from week to week wherever he received an invitation. In terms of food, clothing, and shelter, these were the most difficult times he had ever gone through. Since his childhood, there had always been plenty of food and good clothes, and no question of where he would live. He had been the pet child of his father, and he had received special guidance and affection from Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. But now, Abhay sometimes felt alone, homeless. He moved around Delhi from one temporary residence to another, a Vishnu temple, a room at the Kapoor College of Commerce. But he was seeking donors, preaching from Bhagavad Gita, writing. His goal wasn't to find a permanent residence, but to print his transcendental literature and to establish or join forces with a pure, powerful movement for spreading Krishna consciousness. Abhay made a list of several books he wanted to publish. Number 1, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrit in Hindi, 2000 pages. Gita Upanishad in English, 1200 pages. Science of Devotion in English, 300 pages. Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan Movement English, 300 pages. Message of Godhead in English, 300 pages. Bhagavaner Katha Bengali, 50 pages. But to print, he needed donors. He called on wealthy men in their offices and homes, presenting his manuscripts and explaining his mission. He had a list of donors, but few responded. And when he did receive a donation, it was usually only 5 or 10 rupees. Occasionally, he would receive a letter of appreciation or endorsement. One appreciation came from Narayan Das Rai Bahadur, a retired executive engineer and secretary of the Birla Mandir Trust, who had attended a public reading Abhay had held in the presence of a popular guru, Madar Anand Moi. Impressed by Abhay's reading from his Hindi Chaitanya Charitamrit, Mother Anand Moi had donated 50 rupees and suggested that Abhay also visit a well known sadhu, Shri Hari Baba, who was lying ill in the hospital. Abhay, accompanied by Narayan Das, had then visited Hari Baba, who had claimed that Abhay's reading put him into ecstasy. Meanwhile, Narayan Das was becoming inclined to help, and in December, he wrote a letter suggesting that everyone extend their helping hand for the successful publication of Shri A.C. Bhaktivedanta's various writings in Hindi, English, and Bengali. I wish him all success in his noble attempt. Abe would show this and other such letters to prospective supporters. In Delhi, it was not difficult to see government ministers, judges, lawyers, business executives, religious heads. There was always someone willing to hear seriously and occasionally to offer support. Thus, Abe with the two dhotis and kurtas, the Gaudiya Sangha had supplied him with his ability to preach and convince, but with little sport and no fixed residence, continued his preaching undaunted. Writing and trying to publish was only half his effort, the other half was taking part in efforts for a world movement like the League of Devotees. Through Narayan Das, Abhay inquired whether there might be a way he could do this work under the auspices of the Birla Mandir, one of the largest and richest temples in Delhi. Abhay proposed that he be put in charge of propaganda in the English language, both within India and abroad. Since Narayan Das considered himself a follower of Sanatan Dharma, Abhay wrote to him explaining how the teachings of Bhagavad Gita set forth the real Sanatan Dharma. Abhay had many ideas about how Sanatan Dharma, as the eternal religion for all living beings, could be expanded and practically applied if Narayan Das would but help him. From the letter, I want to train up 48 educated youths to learn this science of transcendental knowledge and just prepare them for going to foreign countries for missionary work. To start immediately an English paper or to revive my paper Back to Godhead in the style of Illustrated Weekly of India. To organize a Sankirtan party which shall not be only of good singers and musicians but must also be used to practice sadhana or self realization. Letter stops. Abhay promised that as soon as he had done some groundwork, he, along with men and equipment, could start from foreign countries to propagate this missionary work. But he admitted also that he was externally in dire straits. Kindly do arrange for the above immediately and give me a proper place to live. I must remove from this temporary quarter by Monday next latest. The directors of the Birla Mandir did not take Abhay on his offer, but he thought of another way of engaging them. He would hold a public meeting at the Birla Mandir to help generate interest in the League of Devotees. He approached Shri R.N. Agarwal, president of the Delhi Municipal Committee, who, after hearing the names of several respectable people who would be attending, agreed to preside over the meeting. Abhay set the date for December 22 and printed 500 announcements and 200 invitation cards. Striking a cosmopolitan note, he stated in his announcement, by the grace of the Almighty, Delhi is becoming the center of cultural association of the world. The leaders of both Russia and India had recently pointed to the need for cultural contact between all nations, but the highest culture, Abhay suggested, was scientific spiritual knowledge. Therefore, the best cultural resources in the world existed in India, and these resources, Abhay stressed, should not be left to the unorganized sadhus and sannyasis, but should be taken up by important members of the society in an organized way. The December 22 Hindustan Times listed the meeting of the League of Devotees in the today's engagements column, along with announcements for meetings of the Rotary Club, the Tagore Society, the Indian Council of World Affairs, Bharat Scouts, and the Indian Pharmaceutical Congress. The League's meeting began with a Kirtana led by Professor H. Chan and then A.C. Bhaktivedanta, founder and secretary of the League of Devotees, explained his movement's objectives. Then Narayan Das spoke and afterwards read a number of proposed resolutions from the founder secretary, attesting that the persons present supported the League of Devotees and that they recommended that the cultural government of India also support it as a movement for world peace based on Gandhian principles. After adoption of the resolutions, the meeting closed with another kirtan and prasadam. Abhay was convinced that if his well-wishers and fellow humanitarians would support him on a grand scale, he could create a movement for world peace based on the principles of devotional service to Lord Krishna. But his role was simply to present Krishna consciousness to whomever he could. The results were up to Krishna. Abhay was aware that the good intentions of the most of the participants in his Birla Mandir meeting would not go past that one meeting, but he wasn't discouraged. Through all his tireless evangelism, he maintained a philosophical jollity. In one sense, he was already fully satisfied. He was happy to be working on behalf of his spiritual master. Although he was changing addresses so fast that his mail could hardly catch up to him, he wrote a newspaper ad for a home study course. Educational. Study the spiritual secret of Bhagavad Gita at home by correspondence and be a strong man. Full course fee Rs 50 only. The instruction is imparted not in the ordinary imaginative way of qualified interpretations, but in the parampara system of perceptorial succession. All questions are properly solved. Apply AC Bhaktivedanta. Students of all communities and nationalities are welcome. He had not published Back to Godhead in 4 years since 1952, but he decided to revive it. Back to Godhead was a mission worthy of his full attention, and it took all his efforts to collect the funds, compose the articles, see to the printing, and then distribute 1,000 copies. The money he would raise by obtaining interviews and soliciting donations. One donor and friend was Justice Bipin Chandra Mishra, a Supreme Court judge in New Delhi. Justice Mishra. He used to come to me once a month. I gave him donations for his paper. It was only a 4-page magazine, but it showed his study of the subject and his earnestness and his devotion to Lord Krishna. He appeared to be a very simple man and modest, and it was pleasant to talk to him. He had a smiling demeanor. The main thing was his humility. He could talk with affection and confidence, and he knew we were discussing things near to God. So every talk with him would sublimate us. I was a rather important personality at that time in religious affairs, but he would not be expected to make any contributions to the main religious life of Delhi at that time because of the language difficulty, because his aim was to reach the English educated persons, not the Hindi ones, and also because his means and his popularity were not at all established. The magazine did not have a wide appeal among these people. Other religious leaders were all well established. The only thing that impressed one and was worth noticing at that time was the simplicity of his abiding faith in God's name and his mission. Writing articles was no problem. By the grace of his spiritual master, he was neither short of ideas nor unable to set them down. Translating and commenting on the Vaishnava scriptures, his pen flowed freely. He was inspired by the miracle of the press, the Brihat Mridanga. The work of writing his message down and printing it 1,000 times with the awareness and urgency of speaking directly to everyone, not just people in Delhi or India, but everyone, put Abhay into an ecstatic meditation. He would contemplate how copies of Back to Godhead could reach thoughtful people who might read them gratefully. Nor was maintenance a problem. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukadev Goswami had declared that a devotee's problem was not food, clothing, or shelter. If one had no bed, he could always lie on the ground and use his arms for a pillow. For clothes, he could always find some rejected garments in the street. For food, he could live on fruits from the trees. And for lodging, he could stay in the mountain caves. Nature supplies all necessities. A transcendentalist should not flatter materialists to maintain himself. Of course, Abhay wasn't living in the mountains or jungle but in the city of New Delhi, yet he had virtually adopted the renounced mode Shukdev had suggested, not to punish his body to or prove himself pure and uncompromising, but because he had to live in poverty if he wanted to regularly produce Back to Godhead. Hare Krishna. So we stop here, and there will be one more part, second part, and then this chapter, Crying Alone in the Wilderness, this will also be finished. Hari Bol.
गोविन्द जय जय गोपाल जय 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 गोपाल जय जय गोविंद